Unplug your cleaning routine with the Ryobi 18-volt 1 Plus cordless cleaning lineup. Our powerful and versatile tools make cleaning a breeze. One battery powers over 300 products, giving you the power to do more. Visit ryobitools.com to learn more, exclusively at the Home Depot.
This episode is being re-released as it was originally released on September 23rd, 2023.
Oh my, I got the worst hate and online bullying I've ever had in my life. People called me, anti-Semitic and things. Seriously, somebody had to coach me because it was my first experience being that exposed and having that much online bullying coming at me.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free, safe space for people to share and learn from others' experience with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, a suicide attempt survivor and recovering substance user. Boy, am I excited about this episode. I love reality TV and I love comedy. And if you've ever heard of Nathan Fielder, he does an amazing job of his television shows, Nathan For You and The Rehearsal. And in this episode, I'm speaking with Angela from The Rehearsal. And she was quite an interesting character on the show. On the episode here, we talk about childhood trauma, some substance use, a whole lot of cyberbullying after the show aired, and the ugly side of reality TV, and how she manages it all. We also discuss her faith, which is very strong. Make sure to tune in next week as well. I'm speaking with Racine, and she was in a car accident. She was driving, and her daughter was killed in that accident. So we talk about how she's coping with all that and how she coped with all that. Congratulations for this week's winner of the $25 gift card from Co-op. You too can win. All you have to do is listen to this episode, answer the question at the end of the episode, and you will be entered to win $50 this week. It's just that easy. $50 just for listening to a free mental health podcast. You're actually getting paid to be part of a free mental health service. You can't beat that. But now, without further ado, I give you Angela. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm very excited. I have to be honest, I loved the show.
Thank you. I'm glad.
And I know it probably wasn't how you were hoping to be portrayed, but I watched Nathan For You. Okay, this guy's pretty funny. He's that very dry kind of
deadpan.
And then the rehearsal became very meta at times, and it was it was pretty funny. And
totally.
And for me, I thought you were super charming and heartwarming, and I know it probably came off at times like you were maybe kooky or flaky or whatever, and but I mean, honestly, that was part of the charm too, so I don't know.
I am a bohemian girl from San Francisco, so
I love San Francisco. Is that where you live?
No, but I'm born and raised there. I'm a native.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I live in Portland now, which kind of reminds me of San Francisco a little bit.
Okay. So before we get into your experience with the the show,
we can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later once you have the experience. But I'd like to talk a little bit about your history as a human before entering the show. So you mentioned on the show that you had some addiction issues, or I think there were addiction issues, or at least you were dabbling with drugs and things.
Yeah, I call them substance abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in San Francisco, I grew up in a lower middle class family in the 90s, and we partied, and I remember using smoking weed for the first time when I was 11, and drinking too. Then by the time I got to high school, I was heavily drinking. I mean, it was in the music, Gin and Juice by Snoop Dogg, and E40 came out, and
I remember listening to Gin and Juice while drinking at a friend's house in high school.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, one night I drank so much Gin and Juice, I never touched the stuff after that. I barely survived.
Yeah, it was my favorite drink right till the end of when I got sober, really.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it was good until it made me almost puke up my life. Puke up my whole life. But yeah, we were always going to house parties, drinking kegers. That was pretty much like my high school experience. And I was also involved I went to a school of the arts for dance. So
Amazing.
yeah, at the same time, while I was like performing and dancing and like honing my dance talent, I was also like partying and drinking and like smoking a lot of weed and just making a lot of bad decisions while intoxicated. And just,
Promiscuity?
yes, definitely
Mm,
promiscuity.
mm,
Definitely.
mm-hmm,
Also, I just had like really low self-esteem.
mm-hmm.
Like, I had really low self-esteem. I hated myself as a child, as a teenager. And I think a lot of it does have to do with my relationship with my dad, because he was an alcoholic and he was a Vietnam vet and he had PTSD. And, he did the best he could, but he wasn't getting a lot of help. We just kind of our parents didn't really keep track of us that they tried, but there were no cell phones back then. And, after school, we'd go hang out with our friends and get into it and go to the park and smoke and drink. And that was what we did in the city back then. At least the people that I was around. And I wasn't around the best people. Yeah, I fell in with a bad crowd of, pretty much thugs, gang members.
Oh,
Uh,
gang
they
members
sold
go to art school?
uh, no, they didn't go to my school. They
Okay.
they they were lurking. They were lurking en route to school. They were at the bus
Ah,
stop. They were on my bus route. And they used to hang out at this place called on this corner, 46 in Judah. That was my bus route to school, and that's where I encountered all of them. And since I was teased really bad in elementary school because I had not grown into my like Slavic nose. My nose was too big for my face, so everyone else had these cute button noses, and uh, so I just thought I was like the ugliest thing and hated myself, and like my dad like wasn't paying attention to me because he was in his own thing, and like so when these guys came along and were like, "Ooh, who's this little fun thing?" and I was like, "What? Who me?" Like so I didn't really know the difference between like good attention and bad attention. And because my self-esteem was so tanked, I just fell in with bad people. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. And I'm sure, a lot of women can relate. But yeah, and then adding drinking and smoking to the mix just increased it. And I experimented with a lot of drugs as well, especially hanging out on Haight Street in San Francisco.
I actually lost two friends this week
You
from
did.
addiction. Yeah. So I
Oh,
I call them friends, but I mean, we met through treatments.
oh
I guess we're
yeah.
more acquaintances, but
You
I
cared about them and
yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, there's like record high numbers for the last 3 years here in my province, and
Oh,
so anyway, it was like over the last couple of weeks I've lost two, but then also the next morning I see people like celebrating their 1 year sober or their 2 year sober, so it's very polarizing. It's like yeah,
yeah.
it's a weird I don't know cross section of society.
I'm sorry to hear about them. Um,
Yeah, me too.
it's really bad in Portland where I live. That's like the fentanyl, meth epidemic that's going on here. And
Here too. That's what it is.
oh,
Meth and
really?
fentanyl. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy. And that stuff, man, I guess once it grips you, it's really difficult to
So
get out.
how'd you get out, or how'd you manage to avoid spiraling down from the drugs?
Yeah, I had a couple of scary episodes. I had a lot of blackouts, things like that. I I basically I started hanging around Christians. That's what it was for me. I changed my crowd that I was hanging around.
Guys named
Um,
Christian. Sorry, I told you I was a smart ass. Sorry, I warned you.
there was a guy named Christian. There was one guy,
Uh,
but no, when I was like people kept inviting me to church when I was like like they invited me when I was 16, they invited me when I was 17, and I was always like, nah, because I didn't grow up in church and I didn't grow up like anything.
hmm
Uh, but I always believed in God, but that's where it ended. And so one day, like in my senior year in high school, somebody had asked me to study the Bible, and I was like, I am kind of curious, what it says. I was like, but just so you know, I'm not going to go to your church. And they were like, that's cool. So they like got together with me at cafes like once a week and like just cracked open the Bible, and like we started studying the Bible. It was like a group of women from the church, non-denominational Christian church. And after about a month, I basically, this is just my journey. Like I encountered Jesus Christ for the first time.
So
And
Christians and gang members were preying on you.
well, you could say that. Yeah, I was definitely being pursued by both sides. You could say that.
Just
Yes.
one's more healthy than the other.
I was in pursuit. Yeah, one was more healthy than the other. Yeah, I feel like I've always been targeted though, like ever since I was a child, like by like, you know, perverts and
Well, I was
just
gonna say, like, when you said I had some blackouts, I could see your eyes glass over for a split second, and I'm assuming you had some traumatic events when you were blacked out.
honestly, I don't remember. Um,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't remember. I just know that like I would sleep with people that I didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't like wake up in the morning, and then you don't remember like how it got to that point. Like you don't remember like the events between like leaving the club with that person and then like waking up with them in the morning. Like, and there's a couple times I believe I was drugged. Um, I may have been drugged.
Right.
Um,
That didn't feel like trauma to you?
yes. At the time I was so numb, and I had been so used to dealing with things by myself and not telling anybody like what was going on, that I think I was so out of touch with how traumatized I was.
Yeah,
I
sometimes
just,
trauma takes a while before you realize, hey, I think that's what trauma is. Even for myself, I had to get sober to
yeah,
realize some of the events in my life were actually
yeah,
traumatic and actually shifted my life and my belief systems a little bit. And I was like, oh, I never considered it trauma until I got sober and had a clear mind.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. At the time, I was so much in survival mode that I didn't even think about myself. Like, I didn't even think about, like, oh my gosh, I just went through something traumatic. I need to go talk to someone, and I kind of kept everything to myself. And I
Hopefully,
didn't,
we use protection, stuff like that, I suppose.
oh, not always.
But sometimes you don't remember. So it's like you're kind of just
Yeah.
hoping.
I think it's important to share these things because, I see how sexualized society is now. Like, and I think about the young women who are out there. Like, if someone would have sat me down and said, you're valuable. Like, you don't have to allow people to treat you this way. You're worth more than your, like, what you can do sexually. Like, because there was a time when I thought that's all I had to offer, growing up. And because I was molested at a young age. Yeah, so
By someone you
I
knew and cared for and respected.
it was family members.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was
Members.
older cousins,
Okay.
older cousins. And yeah, my parents didn't see them as a threat, so they let them be around us and didn't watch us, didn't think they needed to watch us. And um, so, that happened when I was like 6,
Mm.
and kept happening, And so by the time that I got like into, like, what do you call it? Area right before high school, middle school, pre-pub,
Prepubescent?
I guess, yeah. Yeah, like right
I don't
before puberty, I was
Yeah.
like highly sexualized already, and my parents didn't raise me to be, Christian or anything like that, or talk to me about like saving yourself or anything like that. So I got all of my information from the music at the time and my friends and the guys on the corner. And, so I just had no guidance. I had no self-esteem, and that's not a good combination.
And no healthy role models?
As far as like how to be as a young woman, I had friends. I had friends that weren't doing the same things that I was doing, but for some reason it just didn't register like, oh, I need to be like them. I was more so like, oh, I need to be cool. I need to be edgy. And I was so full of anger because of my dad that I just didn't know how to like deal with that. I didn't know how to process that anger. I ended up being rebellious. That's the direction that I went. I rebelled and did all of these like self-destructive, risky behaviors.
You craved attention, whether it was negative or positive, and
yeah. And I didn't have to do that because I was talented, and I found dance at a young age, like when I was 9, and I was performing, and that was a really positive thing in my life. And also I was smart but I didn't know I was smart. But when I was younger in grade school, my school tapped me to be in the GATE program, which was gifted and talented education. And when my mom told me that it was more homework, I said that I didn't want to do it because I just wanted to play and like be a kid, but she should have made me. I tell her I didn't know how to make good choices, you know. But you know, I should have been guided toward, you know, focusing on how I could develop the good parts of myself, you know. But that was thwarted. People came in and like pursued me and preyed on me and like so, and I didn't have any boundaries. Like I didn't know how to say no to anybody. You know, because when you have your boundaries violated at a young age, you just feel like it's your responsibility to make everybody else happy, and everybody else's needs matter more than yours. So that was the message I got, and it was a really hard, like I just got more and more stuff down and stuff down and stuff down.
Until you met Christian.
Until we met Christian. Yes. Christ. Yes.
Christian Christ.
Yes. So after I studied the Bible and I learned the truth about Jesus Christ, I decided to give my life to him and live for him. And I had all of this support. So I went into this church and they talked to me about all the things that I had been doing and why it was bad and why it was destructive. And so my life just did a 180 in my senior year in high school. I had already been through so much, like up till that point, up till like age 18. My life did a 180 there, and I was in that church for like 8 years, and I was celibate. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. Basically, the church was my life. However, there was still a lot of trauma that hadn't been dealt with. So, and anger. And so when I left that church, I went back to my behaviors in my 30s.
Oh.
Yeah, in my late 20s.
You relapsed, basically.
I did, yeah. Yeah, because those things didn't get addressed. And so, you know, you can have faith and you can become a Christian and you can do all these good things, but you can still be a mess inside.
Exactly. Yeah. You can go to treatment, and just because you stop drinking or stop using drugs doesn't mean you're healthy.
That's right.
Yeah, you got to take care of why you were drinking, why you wanted to use drugs. That they in AA or whatever they call that, like being a dry drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's
I guess accurate. It works the same way with trauma. It's like being a dry. No, that doesn't make sense. I know what you're saying. Right. Everyone knows what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. So like basically I went back to like clubbing and drinking, and I
had a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I had fun.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was still looking for love in all the wrong places, you know. I was looking for love at the club and sleeping with people again. And I remember I moved to Chicago in 2010, and Chicago's a big drinking town. And I was very lonely there because it was the first time I'd moved away from my hometown.
What took you to Chicago?
You know, I just felt like I wanted to expand, and I wanted to like go to a new city with new opportunities. So So I was doing massage therapy there and I was doing dance. I was performing in shows and stuff, taking classes. But yeah, I had a friend out there and I said, oh, I'm ready to leave San Francisco and spread my wings, try a new city. So that was basically it. I was talking to a guy long distance that lived in Chicago. But as soon as I got there, I realized that he wasn't what I thought he was. He wasn't like, we would just talk online. It was in Chicago in 2010 that I felt like God was like, come back to me, come back to how you were living for me, come out of this life that you're living, getting drunk and like, having sex and like searching for love and all these things. And like, even fast forward to 2020, like the pandemic, I find myself in Portland by myself. During the pandemic, I was terrified and God's like bringing all these things like back to my memory and like continuing to heal me from all this trauma that I put myself through and that happened to me.
So you guys had a pandemic too?
Oh, I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah, well, we had one in Canada. I wasn't sure if everyone had it. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry.
No.
How you said you were causing your own trauma at times, and I've said this before that like once you get into that spiral, yeah, you do create your own traumas, and then it's hard to get out of that loop. So now you're traumatized. You're constantly traumatized, even though it's quite often because of the lifestyle you're living in and the choices you're making. And not to judge people. I mean, that's just that's the way it works. Just how it is.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard to get out of that spiral.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I think sometimes the only way to get out of it is just being removed from your environment. And that's what happened to me. After I came back from Chicago, I moved in with my mom and then we moved to the suburbs out of the city. And there was nothing for me to do.
So isolate.
Yeah. And I was totally isolated. And I just, eventually just stopped drinking and I, stopped smoking and I stopped having sex. And it was just like, and then when I tried to drink, it didn't agree with me anymore. And I just found myself becoming less and less interested in drinking or smoking or just being intoxicated in general. There was a time when I remember I enjoyed being tipsy and high more than I enjoyed being sober. But now it's the opposite. I enjoy being sober more than intoxicated. I like having my wits about me. I like being sharp. Then it's like, well, how do you relax? So then there's the temptation. It's like, well, how am I going to relax? What substance am I going to use to relax myself? And so I have turned to food.
Oh, that's why I have a calendar of food.
Yes, I have a bowl of grapes. But cheese is my weakness now. My nasty vice.
You gave up weed for cheese.
Yeah.
And sex for Jesus.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, whatever works. That's not going to create more trauma, I guess. Yeah. And but I feel like, God, he just delivered me from that. He freed me from that. Stronghold. It was a stronghold. Oh, and then also after I got into church, they had an alcoholics or like substance abuse recovery group. So I forgot that I did go through that. The group was purposely for recovery?
Yes. Yes, it was. And I still have my folder because they made us journal and we had to like keep track of every time we could remember that we used and like what happened, how we felt, what were the consequences. I remember one time I like found a crumb of weed in my drawer. I found one crumb. It was so tiny. And I don't know why. I just picked it up and I ate it.
Like that was going to do anything.
Yeah. And then I like confessed it in the group and nothing happened. I mean, I didn't get high or anything.
Yeah.
And they were like, you did use. And I was like, I guess I did. I guess so. But yeah, we confessed everything. Well, I was strongly admonished, let's say that.
Ah. Are you, is it, so that first church that you went to in your 20s, is that
hmm
still the kind of the group you're with now, or did you move on to a different style or a different
I
sect?
moved I moved on from there. Well, I left that church in 2003. I'd been there for 8 years, and a lot of people were leaving for just a lot of things were coming out that were dysfunctional that were going on.
Oh,
And yeah, and
was
just
it
like things like,
culty?
well, they were saying that they were the only church that was going to heaven. Only the people in their church.
That sounds culty.
Yeah, it was kind of culty.
Ah,
At the time, I didn't know the difference, but because I'm like, well, it's not Jim Jones Kool-Aid culty, but
yeah.
like I didn't know because I
Yeah.
had never gone to a church before. So um, I was just like, wow, these people are friendly and they care and we're studying the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Love bombing. You were vulnerable, etc., etc.
there was a lot of focus on the leadership and like kind of like getting permission to do things
Mm,
and not like thinking for yourself at the
mm-hmm,
end of the day and like making your own decisions and like actually relying on your relationship with God. You
mm,
had to like go to the leaders and that's kind of a form of idolatry,
mm-hmm,
It's like idolizing the church leaders instead of checking in with God and yourself and the Bible.
mm-hmm. The
So
golden, what was it?
golden triangle. No.
No, in the Bible when they worship a false idol.
Oh, the golden calf.
Calf. Yes, that's what it was. I was going to say bull, but that wasn't right.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And there was a lot of, I think, manipulation that went on. There were a lot of good things, but there started
mhm,
to be like this power trip from the leaders, and a lot of people started just speaking up about it, and then people weren't allowed to speak up about it, you know?
mm, mhm,
And
mhm.
so then people just started leaving. We were exhausted. We were burnt out, spiritual burnout. Yeah, so I kind of went through that a little bit in my first church as a form of spiritual abuse and spiritual burnout. And it didn't start out that way, but it did end up that way. So I'm not sure where it exactly like changed over the course of those 8 years, but it's an issue that they're still dealing with today, and they've like split several times since
Mm.
then. So,
What's the name of the church?
oh, I don't know if I should say.
You don't have to. It's fine.
It's a Christian non-denominational church, and it was worldwide under the
Oh,
leadership of one person, the whole worldwide church. And yeah,
Scientology?
no, not Scientology.
Oh,
That is a denomination.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just the International Churches of Christ. But I would have loved to find a home church after that, but I haven't. But I feel like I listened to a podcast called Tribulation Now, and I've grown so much and learned so much just from that podcast in the past 2 years. His podcast name is Johnny Baptist.
Sounds like a wrestler.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a pun off the Bible character John the Baptist. I don't consider myself religious.
Hmm.
I think there's a difference between being hyper religious and just like walking your faith. I think there's a difference. And I think being hyper religious is more so about the outward show of it. And that never appealed to me. And I never wanted anything to do with that part.
Mm.
Um, and I just really want to be like real nitty gritty, authentic, like, hey, this is who I was before I was a Christian. And this is what my life is like with my faith and with Jesus and with God. I do believe that there are spiritual components to everything, and these dark forces that want to take us, they come into our lives through people and through music and through other things in our environment. And if we're not aware of them, we get influenced and we start going that way. I just started renewing my mind, like the way that I saw things, the way that I thought. Now I'm very careful about, I call it guarding the gates. I'm very careful about what I listen to, what I watch, the words that I say, the words that people are saying to me, and the thoughts that I'm thinking, like toxic thinking. It was basically a massive detox on every level, like spiritual detox, physical detox, mental detox, all of that. And my body detoxed all that. It detoxed all that alcohol and all that marijuana, and our bodies are miraculous in that way, in that they have this incredible detox system built in. So do our spirits, and so do our minds. Like, we can detox and become healthy individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and learn how to live fulfilling lives without these things, and without destroying ourselves, and without hurting ourselves, and just knowing that, like, no matter your life situation or your status in life, you have the same value. You have incredible value, whether you're single or married, or you have kids or no kids, or you're rich or you're poor, or you used to be an addict or you're an addict now. You have the same value. You're so incredibly valuable and precious, especially to God.
Todd.
And Todd.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you meant to say God. Sorry.
And Todd. Yes, Todd cares about people.
The same value. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Even with me.
Yeah. Yes. So we have to know that. But that was the point where things started changing for me, is when I started seeing my value, and my identity was not in these behaviors.
Right. That's right.
That wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
But I
100%.
thought it was who I was. I was so overly identified with, like, being this drinking, smoking, sexing.
Unplug your cleaning routine with the Ryobi 18-volt 1 Plus cordless cleaning lineup. From the soap-dispensing telescoping power scrubber to the advanced stick vacuum, Ryobi has a solution for every cleaning task. One battery powers over 300 products, giving you the power to do more. Exclusively at the Home Depot.
Like, I thought that's who I was.
So now is your identity your faith? Or do you separate yourself from that too? Yeah, as an identity.
That's part of my identity. I think my identity is in Christ. And then what that means is that God created me, and He loves me, and He created me to do great things in this world, and He put gifts inside of me, and He chose me. I'm His child, and He loves me, and He's there for me. And that, just knowing that, like, I don't need to get validation from outside. I get that now from God.
Did you learn some of that by being on the show?
No.
Oh.
I felt like I learned that before I was on the show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just asked that because the whole point of the show is you. I mean, it's a wacky show. If I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners that have no idea what show we're talking about, but it's called Rehearsal, and you went on the show to rehearse being a mother,
right?
And the crazy part of the show, like the whole comedy part of it, was it 3 months you were supposed to be there, or a month?
It was about a month and some change.
Okay. So they start you off with a baby, and then by the end of it, it's supposed to be an 18-year-old kid, so you can see what you'd be like as a mother through the whole lifespan of a child. And so that they swap in and out child actors and stuff playing a child, and it's supposed to be like this whole role-playing thing. You're playing this person's mother and whatever.
Right.
And it's really funny. It's really kooky. It's the whole concept is silly. So anyway, I asked if you learned that on the show because I thought maybe you needed validation or something to see if you'd be a good mother or whatever, and then you realize you learned something about yourself, and that's why I asked that. But
oh yeah, no, I felt like I could have learned that whether I did the show or not. Because the show is a show. It's not really like a real experience, although it was a really cool simulated experience. Like, I mean, who gets that, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a very social experiment. Like, I mean, the only people, it's
yeah,
funny to watch, but I mean, you're in this
there was
bizarre
cameras.
situation. Yeah, there's
There,
cameras. You're pretending to
there
be
cameras.
someone's mother.
Yeah,
Every couple of weeks,
the
your
child
your
changes.
quote unquote child changes. Yeah, yeah, and you're also
Yeah.
going on dates to find a potential father, and then the host of the show eventually becomes the father. Like
Yes.
that alone would be screwy in your head, but then
Yeah.
coming out of that situation and seeing how you were portrayed and what the public's perception of you is now, like that's a whole other screwy.
Yeah.
I know you don't like swearing, but it's a mind f.
No, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for thank you for censoring. Um, I appreciate that. It really is. And there's a quote, like I was talking with one of the producers after, and he goes, "Yeah, I just want to prepare you that because this was my first rodeo. I've never been on TV, and I was super private before this. Like I was barely on social media, anything.
Hmm.
Um, and
So you just jumped right into the fire.
I did. Well, it's funny. I was gonna say no. I was actually gonna say no because I was sketched out about the whole thing because I wasn't getting enough like information. I was like trying to get as much information as I could, but they wanted to keep a lot like back from me because they wanted my reactions to be like,
Genuine.
yeah, surprising.
Right.
And so I also did not know like who Nathan Fielder was, and I had never seen his show.
Hmm.
So, like I knew David Kress of Portlandia was involved, but I didn't know Nathan Fielder was involved. Like I didn't know that. Um, so I received the bare minimum information. So I'm just saying that I was sketched. Like I was like, you know what? I don't know about this because also it was like all focused on me, and I was like, I don't think I want that. That's a lot of pressure. And
Mm-hmm.
I got advice from my friend in LA. She's in the business. She gave me some advice, and I was like, okay, okay. And I was like, I prayed about it, and I felt that God gave me the green light to walk through the door. Like he was like, I'll be with you. I know it's not all clear right now, but yes, you should do this. So I just went in trusting, and
Sucker. No, I'm
right,
kidding.
like I knew that. I knew that they would see me as the sucker, and I knew that I went in knowing that, and I went in being hyper vigilant of like any way they're going to try to trick me or whatever. Because,
Mm-hmm.
people get pranked on TV all the time. I will say that the people that were working on the production, they were so supportive. They were so accommodating and helpful and made sure that I always felt that I had everything I needed and that I was okay. And so that alone, I felt like, okay, I feel like these people are going to be here to make sure I'm good. So, and there's kids involved. So how
Mm-hmm.
crazy can it be? Because I love kids, because I used to be a nanny. So I was like, okay, there's kids involved. It's a show about kids. I was like, okay, so it's not going to be too crazy, right? Like, not going to be raunchy. It's not going to be. So I just went in
Spoiler
trying to,
alert, it gets pretty crazy.
yeah. So, I forgot what the question was.
I don't even know if I asked one.
Oh, you asked if I learned that on the show.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, and then you said, did it clear it up for me going on the show, having a child?
I
Or did I?
did. Sure, I don't know.
You asked me, did I? Maybe I have ADHD too. I don't know.
It's possible.
It's there's like so much to explore from so many angles about it that
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
the
hard
thing.
for me to talk about. Like,
I know it's so complex that show. It's just because I mean he even screwed up like sorry, you were gonna say something. I'll make my point after.
I forgot what I was. Okay, well, I guess I'll just try to tie a bow on what I
Sure,
was saying.
okay.
I went in because it was an opportunity. It was an opportunity that only comes along maybe once in a lifetime. And I feel like God gave me the green light. But I don't need a show, of course, to tell me if I'm going to be a good mother.
Right.
I don't need that.
Did you-
Like
Did you know that, like, when you auditioned for the show or applied, did you know that that's why you were applying? Was to see if you would be a good mother or not?
Um, I'm not supposed to talk about the
Oh,
pre workings of like how I found it or like
okay.
how it came about.
Like, did you find them or they found you? You can't talk about that.
Let's just say that I saw an opportunity somewhere and then they found me.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, then they found me. Yeah. I wish I could
No
tell
one needs
you.
to be sued.
Right. I wish I could tell you because it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story of
I bet it is.
how it came about. But I will say that I wasn't looking for it. I am
Okay,
not an
gotcha.
aspiring actress. I wasn't looking for like roles on TV.
Right.
I was not looking for that. It found me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And I agreed reluctantly based on faith from God giving me a green light. That's it.
Thank God for God because you were amazing on it.
Thank you. And to be honest, if I always tell people this, I don't really agree with Nathan Fielder's methods of like exploiting people and their uncomfortableness for humor. Like a lot of people have told me it's mean, and I'm like, yeah, it's mean. He's mean. And I don't really agree with that. So like if I would have known that he was involved and I would have seen his Nathan for You, I probably would have said no. Like, I
Hmm.
think I probably would have said no. So I think it was all God's divine plan that, like, that was kept hidden from me because I think I was supposed to do the show. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. So he was mean. You have resentments. You're not a fan of Nathan.
I think he's a really talented artist and he's very smart. He's very, very smart. Of course, he went
Yes.
to Canada's top business school, as you know, and he got very good grades. No,
So you've
he's
seen
super.
Nathan for You now. You've seen it.
Nah, I've seen it out. Yeah.
Okay.
And some of it is funny. I some of it made me laugh out loud. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
But no, I think I think he is a talented artist, and I think he can be kind. Yes, but as far as his shtick, I think it's a lot about gaslighting, and I'm not really down with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they even like even in the show they show you talking to him and it's like you're lying, you've been lying to me, you're a liar, and he kept calling him a liar, and it was like, oh,
yeah,
I wonder what's actually happening, right? Because I mean, I'm no dummy, I know it's a TV show, and there's producers and they try to,
the
yeah,
context. Yeah,
yeah, and they try to control the dialogue, they
the
try to
narrative.
the
Yeah,
narrative. Thank you.
yeah.
So I'm curious I'm so curious of like what did he say that, or what expectations do you have, and then that caused you to call him a liar and stuff. And can you talk about that
Mm.
stuff? Because that would be a bit of a mind f too, right? Like you're.
Okay, this is what I can say because it was in the show.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people didn't catch the subtle things that they left in the show. They told you exactly what was going on. There was a there was a scene where he was sitting on the couch with a little boy, and they were watching a cartoon about a green caterpillar. And there was one character in the cartoon that said, "Oh, well, I didn't really lie. I just didn't tell the whole truth." And then the other character goes, "Well, now I can't believe anything you say," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that says it all right there. People like,
I know.
"Oh, I just didn't really lie. I just didn't tell the whole truth." Okay,
Yeah.
so you omitted information to paint a picture. See,
Right.
that's lying too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's deceptive too. It's very crafty,
Yeah.
and
Well, I gained so
so
much respect for you when you were like, I'm peacing. Oh, spoiler alert. You were like, I'm peacing out. Like other people would just like keep going with it because, oh, this might be good for my Instagram or whatever. You're just like, no, I'm done. Like this is not what I signed up for. Have a good time. Thank you for the
yeah,
opportunity. You're all very lovely. Gotta go.
I went in thinking it was going to be about me raising a child, and it became a battle of faith. And
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the funny thing is, I had no idea Nathan was Jewish, and I had no idea that he was going to be co-parent.
Right. Do you think that was a plan all along?
I don't think so. I think it all happened organically or,
Yeah.
by God's divine plan.
Yeah.
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 So I think it was all meant to be. I think but it happened organically. I don't think it was, well, I don't think so. I don't know for sure, but I don't think so. But I had initially started out fully engaged. I was fully prepared. I wanted to go all the way to 18. I totally did. Everyone knows that. Like things went down how they went down. And that's just all things that you can see from the show. Like Fielder started taking it in another direction. Like
the show started being about you, and by the end it was about Nathan and his faith and his journey through life and his growing as a person and stuff. And
and I will say, I guess it is valid if you want to say two people are co-parenting a child, that both of their views are valid. Both of their views matter and should be considered.
For sure.
But I guess there are just some things that you can't see eye to eye on, and people called me, anti-Semitic and things, which I never said.
Ouch.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I don't know anything about what happened to you afterwards.
Oh my, I got the worst hate and online bullying I've ever had in my life.
I mean, I kind of figured some of this stuff would happen, but I not for a second did I watch that show and think you were anti-Semitic.
Thank you.
Just because you're strong in your faith does not mean you dislike other faiths or other creeds or anything.
That's right. Yeah, that was ridiculous. And I basically I was fighting with people on, it was funny because
do not engage.
Seriously, somebody had to coach me because it was my first experience being that exposed and having that much like online bullying coming at me and not growing up with social media. Like seriously, it was my first experience with that. And somebody came along and she runs the Nathan For You business posting group on Facebook. She's one of the moderators, and she reached out to me and she just offered me help, and she like gave me advice.
Was she on Nathan For You or something? Like how did?
No, it's like a cult following fan page for Nathan.
Oh, so she's a fan of Nathan's and she reached out to you. Gotcha. Okay.
But she's very nice and she's very kind, and she's very familiar with how online bullying affects people who've been on TV. So she reached out to me and she just gave me a bit of coaching. And she was like, Angela, don't engage. Don't give them anything. Because I was engaging with people and I was giving them a piece of my mind, and they were taking what I said and posting it on Reddit. And Reddit was tearing me apart. I mean, oh my gosh, I was spending days on Reddit just like reading what people were saying about me. And I was like, oh my gosh, they like hate me. They think I'm an awful person. And I'm telling people like, go look up the basic dictionary definition of anti-Semitic. Like abiding by your own faith and not compromising does not qualify. That's not the definition of bigotry or anti-Semitism. It's actually hatred and discrimination. So.
So was that people's biggest thing or biggest fuel to bully you? Was the anti-Semitic thing, or was there more?
There was more. Yeah, they thought I would be a terrible mother. They thought that I would be like, I would mess up a child. They said that I'd be single forever, and yeah, they were just like, oh, we can see
Hitler had a wife.
Right. Like lots of people are in relationships.
I'm not comparing you to Hitler. I'm not comparing you to Hitler.
I know.
Shit. Oh.
No,
anyway.
But your point is like, you don't have to be a good person to be in a relationship. Like one doesn't equal the other. Like just because someone's single doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or you're a bad person. And just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that you're a great person and there's nothing wrong with you,
Yeah. Or some people think the world is flat. The earth is flat, and they find people
I
which
know.
is crazy to me, but whatever. Each believe whatever you want. I don't care.
I agree.
But yeah,
One of my family members is a flat earther, and they're like the kindest, most generous person I've ever met. I love them. But I'm like, believe what you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um,
You're not anti.
Anti-flat earther?
Yeah. You're like, I hate flat earthers. Rah!
No, not at all.
You're
Um,
anti-Halloween, though.
I am anti-Halloween. Now I am. I used to celebrate it, but I don't anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but I don't like judge people who celebrate Halloween, but I'm just like, ooh, be careful because it's dark.
So I want to go back to the show for a second, then we'll come back to post-show stuff because
Cool.
there was the final episode where Nathan kind of almost redeems himself. Like he kind of talks about it, like, well, because there was a kid involved, and this kid got so confused. I would love to talk to the kid and his mom about this. Like, I'm curious what was show and what was real. Because the kid was growing up with a single mother, and in the show he had to call Nathan daddy, and he got extremely attached to the point that he just kept calling him daddy and wanted to be with him. And I honestly believe that wasn't Nathan's intentions, and he really genuinely felt bad. But yeah, it was very confusing, and I'm sure that it's gonna affect that kid for a long, long time. So he kind of recognizes that, and he touches on you a little bit too, even about, here I am screwing up people for my own benefit, and so he does kind of touch on it and recognizes. So I don't know, did that redeem Nathan at all in your mind a little bit?
A little. A little. I'm like, oh, he does have humanity.
But you didn't know any of that until you watched the show?
No, I didn't have a pre-screen, so I didn't know that until everyone else knew. Yeah, but that's why it was so important to me to be honest and tell the truth. So that's why I challenged this whole like lying and the deception. And then, the cartoon that they showed, oh, I didn't lie. I just didn't tell the whole truth.
Yeah.
But then it still caused confusion, and that's what happens. You mix a little bit of truth. You mix a lot of the truth with a little bit of the lie. And that's how you get people to buy what you're selling, and that's how you get people confused. And then they can't tell, like, what's the truth and what's the lie. And this is why we have to be so discerning and so, like, straight up about what's true and what's not true,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in a vulnerable place, that's how cults and things, like, get people.
Exactly.
You're in a vulnerable place, whether you're in a divorce or you're vulnerable for whatever reason, and then they love bomb you. They mix truth with non-truth, misinformation. So you look up stuff and you're like, no, okay, it is true. So everything must be true what they're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it happened to a poor kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and the children, it's just a bigger issue in society right now is like bringing these issues to children that they're not ready to comprehend, and they're getting confused, and
we always hear about child actors having trouble later in life. And no wonder.
The kids are precious, let's tell them the truth and let's let them be kids and not confuse them. That's my whole thing. Let them be adults.
Yeah. So now the show ends, or you've left the show. I guess, what was your life like between the show, like leaving the show and before it aired? It was just like, boop, back to normal life, and it didn't get crazy until it aired?
Yeah, I basically got back to work. Like I got my Oregon massage license and started working again because I wasn't working during the pandemic.
You know what I thought you said for a second? I thought you said organ massage.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oregon state massage license.
I was like, wait a minute, what kind of massage? Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, you go back to work.
I started, living my life, making money, just trying to pay the bills. And
how long before it was shot until it aired?
It was about 8 months. Yeah, it came out July 15th, 2022. They got it done, and came out summer of 22, and everything changed.
Man.
Everything changed.
So that's kind of another mind warp, is like you did this thing which was mind bending while you were in it. So your life was normal. You did this mind-bending thing. No one
recognized me. Like I could go to the grocery store.
You go back to work. It's back to normal, and then it gets crazy again.
Yeah, It's funny because I had not they kept telling me like, oh, people might start recognizing you and asking you for selfies, and I'm like, really? Like I just couldn't imagine that, And sure enough, it didn't happen right away, but like it still happens. Like to this day, like I'll be out, and I don't go out that much. I'll be out, people like, hey, were you that girl on the rehearsal? Can I get a picture with you? Be like, sure. And yeah,
is that part fun?
It is, but it can also be nerve-wracking because like sometimes when I bring personal documents to be like, one time I brought personal documents to be shredded at UPS, and I was like, oh my gosh. What if they steal some of my personal documents and post them on Reddit, or like post them somewhere, like, or sell them? I don't know. Like I started to feel a little bit overexposed, like I was exposed, and I felt like I was vulnerable. Yeah, I was vulnerable. The response to me was very polarized. It was like people either loved me or they hated me. And like there's this quote that says, I would rather to be loved and hated than forgotten. So I feel like that quote happened from the show. Yeah. And
I'm assuming most of the hate was online. Most of the love was in person.
Yes.
Keyboard warriors.
Exactly. I don't think many of the people online would have the guts to say what they said to me in person, to be honest.
Exactly.
And if they did, I've had to be prepared for it, but no, it's been all love in person, and I'm sure not everyone agreed with my views, but everyone who came up to me in person was very sweet and very respectful, and nothing but love. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody came up to you and said anything negative, but interesting.
Sometimes people look at me in public and they have a certain attitude, and sometimes I wonder, are they recognizing me from the show? And they're like, they were in the camp that like didn't like me.
What do you think is the worst thing someone said about you online?
I'm trying to think. I might have blocked it out because it like hurt me so much. But I think somebody did say something like that. Like it would be good if, she wasn't here. But someone did take my face and put it on a picture with Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson's body?
No, like him with Kim Kardashian.
Oh, okay.
They started comparing me to Kim Kardashian, and because I guess we have a similar West Coast way that we talk and a similar voice and whatever.
Okay.
Shout
I know
out
very little about Kim Kardashian.
Shout out to Kim Kardashian if she ever hears this. Nothing but love.
She's an avid listener.
Nothing but love to you, girl.
Or nudes? No one took like a porn star's body and put your head on it?
I was so afraid of that, but I haven't seen one yet. That would just be very re-traumatizing. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be, thinking about past stuff even before the show. Yeah, that'd be bad.
Yeah, just because of my childhood and my past, I was like, please, I don't want to see anybody doing anything sexual with my image. And I can't remember exactly the worst thing anybody ever said because I honestly probably blocked it out because it was so awful for me to read it. But, basically people just said I was crazy. They said I would never have a loving partner. They said I didn't deserve one. They said I shouldn't be a mother, that I'd mess a child up. They said that they didn't like my personality. They either liked my voice or my voice just sounded like nails on a chalkboard to them. So it was also a very polarizing reaction to my voice. And they were just analyzing me. Like, they were just like, oh, she's got issues and she's got this and she's got that. And she seems like...
we all have issues?
Yeah. We do all have issues.
You have issues going online, making comments like this.
I know. And man, I didn't know what Reddit was like before the show. I was like, whoa, this is a dark, deep hole over here. Like people are really over here, like talking about other people. And
do you regret doing the show?
no, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I'm
good,
happy
good.
I did it. Yeah, I'm happy I did it. And it was a wonderful experience and with the kids and being in the house. The Clackamas
Beautiful house.
is beautiful, a farm, and being having the experience of being on TV and working in a production was fun and exciting. And yeah, I would not trade it.
You said the crew was amazing?
Amazing. Oh my gosh. The Portland crew is amazing. The art crew, the set crew, the production, everybody was incredible. Incredible. Yeah.
I just remembered that you went on a date with a guy, and like he'd be interesting too, because I'm sure he got blowback from the show too, because he
I know.
He wasn't portrayed in a good light, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. The dates were wacky. Like
I mean, it was funny. I gotta say that episode was funny, but
I didn't know that was gonna happen. The guy that came over, that was Robin. He got a lot of blowback. You know, they showed
you talked to him after?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked after.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked in the new year before the show came out. So I hadn't seen any of the footage. I didn't know about any of that. And he got a lot of blowback too. And
I can't remember why did he leave in the middle of the night?
The baby was crying.
All right. He's like, peace out.
Yeah.
Right. Oh man, I know it was probably a little traumatic for you, but I'm glad that you don't regret it, because it's such a smart show. Like,
I thought
you
so
can't
too.
watch that show and not think this is brilliant. Like, it is so
exactly
incredibly funny and brilliant, and everybody was so sweet.
And that's where I do tip my hat to Nate Fielder, you know, and the production crew and HBO. Like, it was brilliant. Yeah. I mean, they combined a documentary with a storyline and actors and reality, and they combined this like almost like I call it a new genre of film, but it's technically they're calling it a docuseries. But the topics that it explored with the kids and, you know, farming, faith, farming, kids, parenting, relationships.
And then Nathan's self-realization, maybe I was the bad guy the whole time near the end. You know, it's like...
Yeah. And also, just even for me as a woman, like, considering motherhood later in life, being single, you know, and dating later in life, and, you know, those issues as well.
Are you still single?
Yeah, I am. I said that a little bit too happy. I'm like, yes.
Oh, so you never will find love then?
Oh.
They were right.
Well,
Reddit's never wrong.
It's not over yet. I'm still alive. So there's still a chance.
Yeah, right. That's true.
But no, I mean, I had a lot of people come to me and just straight up tell me they were jealous. They were jealous that I got to be on the show with Nathan, because there are a gang of women out there that love Nathan. They stan him. He's their stud muffin. Like, I'm telling you, they're crazy for Nathan. And they just couldn't stand it that I got to be on the show with Nathan Fielder. I was like, oh,
you got to have his baby.
Something like that. Yeah. So they don't want to see me happy. That's my point. They don't want to see me happy.
Haters be hating.
Haters be hating, man. It's straight up hateration over here.
But is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask, or that we didn't bring up or anything?
I think what I just want everyone to know is that you have so much value, no matter where you're at in life. And just know that. And like, make decisions from that place. Yeah, don't let people treat you bad. Don't let people treat you bad. Don't accept toxic toxicity in your life, detox your life on every level. So I just wanted to add that about people's value. Like, of course, God loves you. Jesus is real. He wants to know you. I don't know if you're going to leave that in, Todd, but I'm just going to put it out there.
Of course I will. Jesus is real.
Jesus is real. He loves you. He wants to know us. And God, separate God from your church experience. There's so many people that came at me post show and were like, you're just going to mess somebody up with your religion. And they like told me how they were raised and how religion was forced down their throat. And I'm like, dude, I'm not like that. Like, I wasn't raised like that. I wouldn't do that to someone else. Like, we all have free will. Like, I'm glad I'm glad it wasn't forced on me. Like, I'm glad, and God never forces anyone to do anything. So please don't put that on God. Like, God loves you. He's a gentleman. He gives you free will and he never forces anyone to do anything. But it's an invitation that he sent his son to die for the world and so that we could have a closer relationship with him and be covered by the blood of Jesus.
Ew.
I know, but it's so much better of a sacrifice than sacrificing animals. Trust me on this, okay?
Okay.
Because it's one time. It only happened one time for all. And so, I just, invite you. It's an invitation if you're afraid about that. If you're afraid about being brainwashed. No, it's an invitation. Ask questions. You're in control. No one's going to force you. But life with God and life with Jesus and the Holy Spirit inside of you is so much better because this life is so hard. We can't do it on our own strength. It gets too heavy. We need, God wants to take our burdens. Jesus says, cast your burdens upon me. For my burden is easy and my yoke is light. Cast your cares on me. So that's the life that I live now. And I don't carry heavy burdens and I don't carry grudges and I forgive. And even the people that were mean to me from the show, I forgive them.
Forgiven?
I was so mad at them, but I forgive them and I pray for them. And, I know people
Have you talked to Nathan since?
No, I haven't. And I don't know what they're doing with season 2. So,
The Revenge of Angela.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
My parting comments, I know it's hard for me to get to the point sometimes. That's why I'm a dancer, not a speaker. Can I say this in an interpretive dance instead?
Yes, that'll make a great audio podcast.
Right? Everyone's responsible for their own healing, and people have to be held accountable and responsible for doing their own work. You can't do their work for them.
Oh, I just realized I forgot to hit record. Can we do all this again?
You're lying.
I am lying. So it's that time again for the new segment, That's Some Bunny Special. A segment where we chat about who cooperated in your mental health journey and helped fulfill your emotional tank, brought to you by Co-op. You don't have co-ops down there probably, but...
Co-ops? We have co-ops.
Like gas stations and grocery stores?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
There you go.
Love them.
Oh, good. So when you were going through your darkest moments, whether it was when you were younger or whenever, who helped you? Who do you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it was different people at different times, so that's a tough one.
I have a prediction for one.
You do? What?
Oh, I'll write it down and then I'll show you.
You're going to say Jesus.
I was. Is that one?
Well, yes, of course. And even before I knew who he was, I think he was there helping me. But if I was thinking more of like a person, like a life person, I want to say my mom. My mom has always been like the rock of the family, and she's always been there. Her doors have always been open. Her wallet's always been open. My my mom's just been a constant source of support and help for me and love. And even when I treated her terrible, like as a teenager and even as a young adult,
Good old moms.
Yeah, her door was still always open, even when she wanted to slap me in the face.
It's been so nice meeting you and talking with you, and maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, God willing.
Todd willing.
And Todd willing.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was amazing. I'm so grateful and extremely lucky that I got to meet you and talk with you and have you share your story with me. And you never know, folks, maybe Angela and I will record again sometime. Be sure to rate and review the podcast because it helps people to find it. You never know what you need to hear until you hear it. So make sure you rate and review on Apple so others can hear something they need to hear from one of my guests. After all, this is a free mental health service, which is a rare thing, so why not share with as many people as you can? That'd be much appreciated. Okay, now for this week's question. A $50 co-op gift card at stake. So here it is. What city does Angela live in and where the show The Rehearsal was shot? That question again. What city does Angela live in and where the television show The Rehearsal was shot? Send your answer to bunnyhugspodcast@gmail.com and be entered to win $50 gift card from Co-op to spend on gas, food, hardware, agricultural products, whatever. I will announce the winner next week on Instagram. You can follow me there on Bunny Hugs Podcast, and you can also join the community on Facebook, Bunny Hugs and Mental Health Community. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the comments, reviews, emails I've been getting. It really does mean a lot. It's very much appreciated. And please don't forget to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.
Ryobi now makes floor-to-ceiling cleaning easier than ever with cordless cleaning tools, powered by 18-volt 1+ batteries. Whether it's a quick tidy-up or deep cleaning, our powerful and versatile tools make cleaning a breeze. Spend less time cleaning and more time enjoying your pristine home. And because one battery powers over 300 products, you have the power to do more. Visit ryobitools.com to learn more. Sold exclusively at the Home Depot.